You don't even know whether it's a 1995 or 1994, Ms.
She was
Mazzola?
trying to answer the question, Mr.
Sorry.
Neufeld. You've interrupted her again.
To be honest, I don't recall.
Okay. Now, aside from Mr. Goldberg being present and a still photographer and a video photographer, were there other people present?
Yes.
And did they assist you or at least give you instructions during the course of this demonstration?
Your Honor, I'd object to that.
Vague.
Who else was present besides Mr. Goldberg and the camera operators?
Mr. Fung and Mr. Yamauchi.
And during the course of your doing this demonstration, having these photographs taken, did either Mr. Yamauchi or Mr. Fung give you any direction?
It's still vague.
Oral.
No.
Did Mr. Goldberg give you some instructions?
It's vague as to instructions.
Sustained.
Your Honor, can we approach?
Nope. I think counsel understands the parameters here.
During the time that you were actually doing the demonstration, did Mr. Goldberg give you any direction as to what to do?
Yeah, I still think it's vague and overbroad.
Oral. Yes or no?
I don't understand what he means by instruction.
Or obviously, this is a demonstration project, a piece of demonstrative evidence. I'm sure the jury understands it was created for this case. Proceed.
And during the course of that, did Mr. Goldberg give you specific instructions?
As to what he wanted to depict, yes.
Okay. And the sequence in which you should do certain things?
No, not the sequence.
All right,
Now,
Mr. Neufeld, would this be a good spot?
Sure.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our break for the afternoon. Please remember my admonitions to you. And we'll reconvene in about 15 minutes. All parties ordered to return in 15.
Good afternoon.
You're reminded you are still under oath. Mr. Neufeld, you may continue.
Thank you. Ms. Mazzola, again, calling your attention to the collecting a stain demonstration board with the still photographs on it. Would you agree, Ms. Mazzola, that the still photographs depicted, shown on this board, because they are still photographs, don't capture the continuous motion involved in the entire process of bloodstain collection?
It's argumentative.
That's correct.
And when you first set out to do this demonstration for Mr. Goldberg and the prosecution, did the prosecution attempt to record this demonstration with a videotape as well?
Yes.
And the video was shot at the same time that the still photographs were taken?
Yes.
And it was your job during this videotape demonstration to act out the role of the criminalist collecting bloodstains?
Yes.
I mean, this wasn't a real case, right?
No.
Okay. I'll put this down now.
And Mr. Cochran, could you just flip that one around, please?
I will,
Thank you.
Now, Ms. Mazzola, SID has its own still photographers, correct?
That's correct.
And SID even has personnel who can take videotapes as well, right?
Sustained.
When this videotape was being made of you doing the demonstration, Ms. Mazzola, was it your understanding that it was being produced for the purpose of showing it to the jury during the trial?
Oral.
That was a possibility. I don't think they came right out and said it would be shown. It was a
Ms.
possibility.
Mazzola.
Wait.
Okay.
Let her finish the answer.
I thought she had. I apologize, Ms. Mazzola. Go ahead.
Be my guest.
No. Is there more?
No.
What was your understanding when you were engaged in this demonstration for the district attorney and the video camera is rolling? What is your understanding of what the purpose of this videotape was going to be?
Overruled.
That it might be shown to the jury.
And so while the district attorney was producing this videotape, you tried to perform the tasks of criminalists to the best of your ability. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And knowing that the videotape was meant to represent the process of bloodstain collection as practiced by you, you also tried to make it as realistic as possible, did you not?
Yes.
And is the tape, have you seen the videotape?
No.
Now, while you were performing the demonstration, I'm sorry, withdrawn. Did Mr. Goldberg ever tell you at any time, either during the videotape or after the videotape, that he was concerned that the videotape revealed some common accidents?
Sustained. No.
Did Mr. Goldberg or any prosecutor ever tell you that it was important to convey to this jury how simple bloodstain collection is?
Overruled. You can answer the question. Was that ever said to you?
Not to show how simple it was, just to show the procedure.
Did any prosecutor ever express to you the importance of conveying to this jury that it is a simple procedure?
Overruled.
It is a simple procedure,
I
but
didn't ask that.
that was not the main issue.
Okay, I'm not asking what was the main issue. Was it a secondary issue that was conveyed to you by the prosecutors that they wanted to show or suggest to the jury
That's
that this
counsel.
was
Secondary, tertiary, where are we going to go with this? Was it discussed by any prosecutor with you to show that how simple a process was?
No, I don't believe so.
Proceed.
Ms. Mazzola, during your prep sessions with Mr. Goldberg, did he tell you that there was a chance that this videotape might be played for the jury?
Overruled.
I don't remember if he said there was a chance it might.
Are you aware of the fact that on the videotape you are depicted dropping swatches?
Yes.
And were you at all concerned that the videotape depicted you dropping swatches?
No.
But you were aware of it.
Yes.
And during your prep sessions with the prosecutors in this case, didn't they tell you that on direct examination you should admit that you drop swatches occasionally in the event that this videotape is played to the jury? Didn't that come out?
Sustained. Rephrase the question.
In the prep sessions with Mr. Goldberg and the other prosecutors, didn't they tell you that there was a chance that this videotape might get played for this jury by the defense?
Yes, there might be a chance.
Okay. And you also knew that on this videotape you are depicted dropping swatches. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
And during the prep session with Mr. Goldberg and other prosecutors, was it discussed that you should readily acknowledge occasionally dropping swatches at crime scenes?
I don't know if they brought it out in the prep sessions.
Well, do you recall on direct examination Mr. Goldberg asking you about whether you drop swatches?
Yes,
Overruled.
I believe so.
Well, during those prep sessions, you said some of them lasted as much as 5 hours?
It was not a continuous 5 hours.
I understand that, but you said some of the sessions lasted overall as many as 5 hours at the prosecutor's office. Is that right?
I was at the prosecutor's office for upwards of 5 hours, but not talking to them the entire time.
On different days.
Right.
And on some of those days, they would ask you questions that they intended to ask you once you took the witness stand, did they not?
Yes.
Right. Well, was one of the questions that you discussed during those prep sessions a question involving you dropping swatches during a crime scene collection?
I don't know if that was during one of the prep sessions.
Are you saying that the very first time you ever heard that question asked was when you took the witness stand here?
I believe it was mentioned when we were taking the photographs for the collection demonstration.
This time, Your Honor, I would like to play the videotape.
All right, let's mark it.
What's next in order?
11:17. Proceed.
In front of the jury, so there may be a couple of times where I asked to go back and slow it down, and please indulge me a little bit.
Well, you've seen your colleagues.
Exactly. All right. You ready? Okay, can you stop for a second? By the way, did you notice the date at the beginning of this?
Yes.
It said 4/4/95. Does that refresh your recollection as to when this videotape was made?
Not really.
Okay. Okay, go ahead. Sorry. Could you do me a favor? I'm sorry, Your Honor. Could you just go back to the beginning one more time? Can I stop there a minute? Now, Ms. Mazzola, is that you're wearing rubber gloves, correct?
Correct.
And it's your right hand that's now resting on the ground, isn't it?
I believe so.
Can you just back up a few frames? That's good. Thank you. Is that your right hand that's resting on the ground?
Yes.
Would it be fair to say that the ground there outside on the street is dirty?
Yes.
You want to describe, unfortunately, Mr. Neufeld, since we don't have a real-time counter, and if you're going to isolate particular items, you're going to need to describe them. Either print them
Fine.
or describe them.
This is the 1117A. Okay. And Ms. Mazzola, just before this shot where you put the right hand down on the dirty ground, did you clean the tweezers?
Yes.
Okay. And now, Ms. Mazzola, stop again. Did you just take the tweezers and put them and move them from the left hand and transfer them to the right hand?
Yes.
And that's the right hand that you just had put down on the dirty ground. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. One moment. Okay, continue. And are you now pouring swatches out onto the cap?
Yes.
Up. You freeze there for a second. And could you just go back about 10 frames? Or 5 seconds? Right there. Now, at that particular moment, Ms. Mazzola, was a swatch about to fall out of the cap and you prevented it from falling out by catching it or bringing your right pinky into contact with that cap?
I don't know. If one was going to fall out, I would have just let it fall.
Well, can you back up a second? Just a little bit more. Okay, now can we just show that little sequence in slow motion, please? And just keep going down with it. Ms. Mazzola, at that point, didn't you, stop there for a second, didn't you just bring your hand down to that cap because a swatch was about to fall off the cap? And it didn't. You saved it.
I don't believe so because it appears that I'm putting the cap back on the bottle, and if a swatch was in there, I wouldn't turn the cap over because the swatch would fall out anyway.
Well, Ms. Mazzola, you were about to put the cap down at that point, right?
I don't know.
And there were swatches in the cap.
I don't know how many swatches were in the
Okay,
cap.
Can you just back it up 5 seconds? We'll run the sequence one more time in regular speed. Back. Back a little more. Okay, now start it. Didn't you just see you do something with your pinky, Ms. Mazzola, to try and catch something on that cap?
I don't know if I was trying to catch something on the cap or what.
But you could have been. Is that correct, Ms. Mazzola?
It's a possibility.
All right. And the same hand that you're using to catch the swatch at that point, if that's what you could have been doing, is the same right hand that you would just put down on the dirty ground. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Continue. What you're doing now is you're making the control swatch.
That's correct.
Item number 5.
Correct.
And Ms. Mazzola, on the dirty pavement outdoors like this, would you expect to see some kind of dirt or debris on the control swatch?
Calls for conclusion.
Based on your experience.
Overruled.
Might,
You stop
might
at
not.
Hmm?
Might not. I don't know.
Even on an outdoor pavement like this, you wouldn't expect to find some dirt?
Asked and answered.
Overruled.
There's a possibility you'd find some dirt.
Is it a probability that you find some dirt, Ms. Mazzola?
It's argument.
Sustained.
Continue, please. Now, when you put the plastic bag in the envelope at that point, you folded it over to seal it, didn't you?
Yes.
And that would retain the moisture in it, wouldn't it?
It would help keep the swatch from slipping out.
Well, hold on 1 second, please. Other than preventing the swatches from slipping out, by folding over the top of the plastic bag when it's wet inside, that will also result in it preserving the moisture in those swatches, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Just one moment. Back up. back up. Okay, now go forward a little bit. Now after you make the control swatch, Ms. Mazzola, you then clean the tweezers off before you go on to actually collect the blood stain. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And can you freeze there for a second? And what you just did, ma'am, was to pick up, and you're going to use that wet wipe or Kleenex to clean the tweezer, right?
Yes, a Kim wipe.
Right. And you just picked up that chem wipe with the same right hand which you've been resting on the dirty concrete, correct?
Yes.
One moment. Stop. Now, Ms. Mazzola, you just transferred the tweezers that you just cleaned back into the right hand again, didn't you?
Yes, the parts away from the tips.
Can you back up a second? Okay, go forward. Now there you're holding it away from the tip, correct?
Correct.
Go ahead. Continue. And now, stop. You moved your fingers further up toward the front of the tweezers, didn't you? Ms. Mazzola, isn't the tweezer now completely enclosed in your hand, in your right hand?
I don't know if it's entirely enclosed or if my finger is just brought up around the side of it.
Well, Ms. Mazzola, your fingers that are brought up along the side of it are the fingers of your right hand that you would just put down on the dirty pavement. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
Okay, continue. And now you're pouring more swatches out of the bottle, correct?
Correct.
And are some of the swatches falling to the ground and missing the cap?
Yes.
Stop a second. Okay, continue. Stop there. Stop. Now, Ms. Mazzola, you see some of the swatches that fell to the ground between the bottle and your knee?
Yes.
And this time, I noticed last time when you took the cap off the bottle, after you took out a swatch, you put it right back on the bottle, didn't you? Last time.
Sometimes I do, yes.
Okay, but this time you put the cap down, didn't you?
Yes.
Is that because you considered for even a moment perhaps putting those swatches that fell to the ground back into the bottle?
No.
You never considered that even for a moment?
Never.
Okay. Ms. Mazzola, when you made this demonstration tape, were you aware of the fact that your right hand had been resting on the dirty concrete?
No, I don't
Is
believe
this
so.
the first time you knew that?
Yes.
And Ms. Mazzola, you said you did know, however, that you would drop swatches during the course of this videotape, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And in fact, comments had been made by others present about the fact that you had dropped swatches. Isn't that correct? Well, You also testified on direct examination, Ms. Mazzola, that you had never dropped a swatch that had blood on it. Was that your testimony?
I believe so.
Well, had the prosecutor told you during the prep sessions that it was safe for you to give that answer because we don't have you doing that on the videotape?
Sustained. Curious to disregard the implication of that question. Proceed.
You also testified, Ms. Mazzola, on direct examination that one reason, I'm sorry, withdrawn. You also testified that at crime scenes, your gloved hand has never touched a blood stain or wet blood. Is that correct?
That's correct.
But isn't one reason why you wear these protective gloves in the first place is because you could accidentally touch a blood stain or wet blood?
We wear them for our own protection because we are around blood.
Well, when you say you wear these gloves for your own protection, Ms. Mazzola, isn't that to protect you from an accidental contact with blood? Isn't that the whole purpose you wear the gloves?
Blood among other things, yes.
Okay, so it's anticipated by the people who taught you at SID to wear gloves that accidental contact between a criminalist and blood does happen from time to time. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
So when you say that you have never touched blood or a wet blood stain, even with your protective gloves on, what you're really saying is that you've never done it such as that you're aware of it. Isn't that correct?
Overruled.
Such that I was aware of, yes.
Now this is going to be the swatch of the actual evidence, correct?
Correct.
Okay, could you stop there? Now, as you see, Ms. Mazzola, do you see the jury can see it too, do you see the moist area where you had made the control swatch?
Yes.
And do you see that the moisture has run all the way over to the point where it's actually in contact with the blood stain?
I don't know if that is moisture from the control swatch or the pigment of the concrete itself.
Ms. Mazzola, may we please go back quickly to reverse to show her just the collection of the control swatch. Back up. Back up. Back up before it starts touching. Back up so it's just off the ground, inches. Okay, go ahead. Stop. No. Can you back up? I want to get it just before it makes contact. Stop. Stop. Now that you see the control swatch just as it's about to hit the control area next to stain number 5, would you agree that the discoloration we saw later on when you're actually about to lift the blood stain is moisture from the control swatch?
Well, it's a little hard to tell. It's possible.
Ms. Mazzola, do you actually see any discoloration in the area immediately adjacent to that blood stain in this picture before you put that wet control swatch on the ground?
I see the area slightly in front of the swatch, between the swatch and the stain itself.
Isn't the area at that point, Ms. Mazzola, fairly consistent and not darker, appreciably darker, in the immediate area where you're placing down the control swatch at this point? Isn't that a fair assessment of what's depicted here, ma'am?
It looks slightly darker to me, but
All right, now could you go forward to where she's about to put down? Go up here. Go a little bit further. Just slow it down. Don't slow mo, that's right. Now, do you see the discoloration created by the moisture emanating out from the control swatch?
yes.
And that's a different color than the other discolorations in the pavement, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And you can see even at that point, the moisture has almost touched the blood stain, hasn't it?
Overruled.
There's still separation between
There's
the
still
two.
some separation there, okay. Now, go forward to the next place where we're about to collect the evidence. By the way, Ms. Mazzola, the swatch that you just picked up could be the same swatch that you had touched with the right hand to help stay in the cap, couldn't it? Stop. Now, Ms. Mazzola, can you see that the moisture has spread out from the control swatch so it is in fact touching the blood drop stain?
It appears to be.
And Ms. Mazzola, you're not supposed to do that, are you? Ms. Mazzola,
Excuse
you
me,
were instructed.
Counsel,
I'm withdrawing the question based on this objection.
when I start to rule, let me rule.
I'm sorry.
Overruled. Proceed.
Would you please?
When you received your instruction on how to collect bloodstain evidence, although you were taught to collect a control close to the bloodstain, you were also taught, Ms. Mazzola, not to allow the moisture from the control swatch to come into contact with the bloodstain. Isn't that correct?
I don't believe that was ever mentioned.
Well, Ms. Mazzola, if in fact that swatch itself had been contaminated by your dirty hand, for instance, would the contamination be transferred to the moisture that is emanating out from the swatch? Could that happen?
Overruled.
I don't know.
You don't know if it could happen?
I don't know if it could happen.
Well, if there was dirt on your hand and your hand came into contact with the control swatch, would you agree that it's possible that there could be a transfer of that trace evidence, of that contaminant, from your glove to the swatch?
It would be possible.
And would you agree, ma'am, that if that control swatch was moistened with water, that there could be a transfer of trace evidence from the swatch to the water?
There would be items from the ground in the water, but the blood stain itself is on the ground, so it's on the same substrate.
I'm simply, well, that assumes, does it not, Ms. Mazzola, that everywhere on the ground you have the same contaminants and the same substrate. Isn't that correct?
That close, the substrate would be approximately the same.
But Ms. Mazzola, when you put your right hand down on the ground, you didn't do that 2 inches away or 1 inch away from the blood drop. You did that several feet away, didn't you?
Yes.
And if your hand came into contact, the hand that touched the dirty pavement several feet away came into contact with a control swatch, it could contaminate the control swatch with whatever contaminant your right hand came in contact with, couldn't it?
If the hand came in contact with that particular swatch, yes.
Okay? And if that swatch then comes into contact with water, the water can pick up that contaminant, can't it?
The possibility.
And if that water then spreads outward and actually comes into contact with the blood stain, then the blood stain can come into contact with the very same contaminant that the right hand initially came into contact with. Isn't that a possibility?
A possibility, yes.
Okay. But it's your testimony that you were never instructed to keep the control swatch moisture not in contact with the blood stain. They never taught you that at the Sid Mini Academy.
It was never a strong point that was brought up.
Well, was it a small point that was brought up?
I don't remember.
So is it the best of your recollection it could have been, but you just don't recall?
I don't recall.
Well, as you sit here today, would it make sense to you as a criminalist not to let the moisture from the control swatch come into contact with the blood stain?
That would be preferable.
Okay, can you go forward, please? Ms. Mazzola, is there some difficulty in this swatch absorbing the blood stain?
Yes.
One moment. Mazzola, did you just move the swatch into the area of moisture immediately adjacent to the bloodstain, where some of the control moisture was?
I can't tell if the swatch was touching the moisture or not.
Did it appear to you that it was, though? Can you just back up for 3 seconds? Okay, now just go forward. Slow. Did it appear to you that at that point it's touching the moisture adjacent to the stain?
It's still hard to tell if it was actually
Okay.
touching.
So, let's go forward. Let's go forward and make it look steep. Ms. Mazzola, in this particular demonstration, you were asked to only make one swatch of this particular bloodstain, correct?
Correct.
Now, in this case, in some of the bloodstains, you made as many as a half a dozen blood swatches?
I don't remember exactly how many, but on some of them it was more than one.
Right? And would you agree, ma'am, that if you did, for instance, 4 or 5 swatches, there's 4 or 5 times the opportunity to make mistakes as there is in a single swatch?
Sustained.
In this particular demonstration, Ms. Mazzola, you're having some difficulty getting blood to be absorbed onto that swatch?
Yes, this
That
stain was...
sometimes happens with
Wait,
pavement?
wait.
Sorry.
To dry the blood, since it was so cold, they put a heater on the blood spots, and it more or less baked it onto the concrete.
And you're putting it in the coin envelope now? And
Yes.
the coin envelope is not sealed, is it?
No, not sealed.
Now you're cleaning the tweezers again?
Correct.
And again, Ms. Mazzola, you're holding the tweezers in your right hand now?
Yes.
Same right hand that touched the ground, correct?
It's my right hand.
Yes. And is that your right hand hitting the ground again?
My hand was on the ground, yes.
Okay. Notice you're stretching.
Yes.
Is it tiring bending down there to do even a single swatch?
No, when it is extremely cold, my left knee tends to tighten up a bit.
And at this instance, you're actually brushing away the swatches that you had dropped to the ground?
Yes.
By the way, Mr. Yamauchi and Dennis Fung are also present during this?
Mr. Yamauchi was.
And did Mr. Yamauchi, I thought you said Dennis Fung was there as well. Could you hold it a second, please?
I believed he was back and forth between the demonstration area and the lab itself.
One moment. Just back up a second, please, before she gets it. And when you actually collected the swatch, were your knees on the ground?
I believe so.
Okay. Can you back up? Back up to just where she's about to get up. And are you now putting your left hand on your knee?
Yes.
And that's the knee that was just on the pavement?
I think it was on the pavement.
Okay. And when you're wiping the ground now with your right hand, correct?
Correct.
And you didn't change gloves before you went on to the next swatching, did you?
No.
Okay. Hold it 1 second. You going forward? What are you doing? there are more swatches that have dropped to the ground again, haven't there?
Yes.
Again, your right hand with the tweezers is going down to the dirty ground.
Is on the ground.
Would you agree that the pavement outside where you're shooting this has dirt on it, ma'am?
Yes.
By the way, Ms. Mazzola, just stop for 1 second. I notice in the demonstration board, when they show you either using the control swatch or a swatch on a piece of evidence, you don't see any of the swatches that are lying on the ground. Is that correct?
I believe so.
That they don't show any swatches lying on the ground?
Yes.
After you finished making this videotape, did the prosecutor ask you to repeat the exercise again?
No.
Continue the tape. Now, Ms. Mazzola, you now took out a coin envelope, is that right?
That's correct.
And that's because you were asked to demonstrate how it is that you put documentation on the coin envelope that you're going to put these swatches in. Isn't that right?
She can describe what she's doing, counsel, not the instructions.
Fine. Now, could you just stop a second? Back up a little bit. I want you to do this in slow motion. Okay? Just to go forward now. Now, Ms. Mazzola, when you're going to, let me just stop for 1 second. When you are documenting a coin envelope in the demonstration, do you put down the item number?
Yes.
And when you put down the item number, do you use the number sign before the number?
Sometimes, yes.
Okay. And do you also on the coin envelope write down your initials as the person who is collecting this item?
Overruled.
I don't believe I did in this.
Was that what you were taught to do, Ms. Mazzola?
I can't remember if we were taught that or if it's something we pick up. I'm not sure.
Well, if you pick something up because you learned it from more senior criminalists at the first crime scenes that you attended, that would be one way of learning this information, correct?
Correct.
Another way of learning it would be because somebody at the SID Mini Academy explained to you that this is the way to do it. Is that correct?
That could be another way.
Either way, you are learning to do something a particular way. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
So the question, ma'am, is, were you taught one way or the other that when you are collecting an item, as you are in this picture, to write down your initials as well as the item number on the coin envelope?
As I believe I had said earlier, some criminalists put their initials on the envelopes, some don't.
Ms. Mazzola, let's play this tape forward now, in slow-mo. Just bring it up at regular speed until she's about to start writing on it. Mrs. I want you to look very carefully at the movement of your hand, of your right hand as it writes on the envelope, okay?
Okay.
Since you can't see what you're writing, you have to just look at the movement. were writing something there, correct?
It appears to be yes.
Okay, and you picked up the pen, now you're writing something else.
Correct.
And now you picked up the pen, now you're writing something else.
Correct.
So, Ms. Mazzola, there were 3 different things that you wrote on that envelope, correct?
It appears that I have the coin envelope and the plastic envelope. They're together.
Ms. Mazzola, did you write 3 different things with your hand in that down position?
It appears so.
Okay. And, Ms. Mazzola, one of the things that you were taught to write was the number, correct?
Correct.
Second thing you were taught to write is the number sign. Is that correct?
We were not taught that.
So sometimes you do that, sometimes you don't?
I tend to do that.
You tend to do that.
I tend to do that.
Okay, that's the second thing. The third thing, Ms. Mazzola, and that would be the first thing you were doing there, was actually writing your initial. Isn't that correct?
I don't know if that was my initials or not.
Ms. Mazzola, when you write your initial, AM, don't you write it in one continuous motion?
Yes.
All right, let's, one second. Continue. Let's continue regular speed. Now, by the way, Ms. Mazzola, you wrote out the envelope and put documentation on because that's a standard practice of yours, correct?
Correct.
Yet on the demonstration board, there is no photograph of you actually filling out the envelope, is there?
I don't know.
Can you just freeze it 1 second? Would you agree, Ms. Mazzola, that it's an important step for a criminalist to document the item that he or she is collecting?
Yes.
And it's important for purposes of identifying an item, isn't that right?
That's right.
And it's also important for maintaining or beginning the chain of custody, isn't that right?
Yes.
Now take a look at the demonstration board, Ms. Mazzola.
All right.
Would you agree that even though you say that this is an important step in the process, that there is no photograph showing you documenting the coin envelope on this demonstration board?
There doesn't appear to be.
Did you have any input at all into the creation of this demonstration board without a photograph of you doing the necessary documentation?
I had no input on the construction of the board.
For the record, what was exhibited to the witness was People's 162.
When you saw the board, you said the board had been shown to you prior to your testifying in this case, hadn't it?
I had a quick look at it, yes.
But when you had a quick look at it, Ms. Mazzola, did you say to the prosecutor, wait a second, you're missing one important aspect of the bloodstain evidence collection process, namely the documentation of the coin envelope? Did you say that to them?
Sustained.
Can you go forward, please? See the moisture moving out from the control swatch, Ms. Mazzola?
Yes.
You see it, hold it, you see it coming into contact with a portion of the blood stain that moves out in an arm to the right?
It appears that it is.
1 second. Just back it up a little bit, please. Stop. Ms. Mazzola, see the dirt on the fingertips of the third and fourth fingers of your glove?
Yes.
Okay, continue. Oh, stop. Now, Ms. Mazzol, do you see that you've now turned the tweezers around? So the tips are right in the middle of that palm of the glove with the dirty fingers?
I can't see which way the
All right, could you back
tips
it up
are
again for just a few...
facing.
Could you back it up for a few seconds, please? Okay, now, stop. Do you see that the tip of the tweezers is going into that envelope, into the plastic bag?
Correct.
Now go forward in slow motion, please. And now do you agree it is, stop. It is now the tip of the tweezers which has gone back into your hand.
The tips would not be in my palm area because they're extremely sharp.
Well, Ms. Mazzol, I'm not suggesting that you were cutting yourself or sticking yourself with the tweezers, but wouldn't you agree that it's possible to simply take the tweezers and hold them like this in your palm without cutting yourself?
Well, it's speculation.
Oh.
Isn't it possible you can do that, Ms. Mazzola?
Not those type of tweezers.
You're saying that those type of tweezers are such that you cannot hold them like this without cutting yourself? Is that your testimony?
Unless the tips were around the bottom of your hand, I can't see how you could hold the entire tweezers in your hand without getting poked.
Well, Ms. Mazzola, if you have it simply resting in your hand like this, and the point is down here, near the bottom of your palm like this, you wouldn't necessarily poke yourself, would you?
If the tips were below your hand, yes.
If the tip is actually resting on your hand, such as I'm doing with my pointed pen, I'm not poking myself, am I?
It's not the same, counsel.
I understand that, Your Honor. But am I poking myself with this?
The tips of the...
Sustained.
Let's continue the tape. Okay. Almost done. Now, Ms. Mazzola, the tip of the tweezers is very close to your fingers at this point, isn't it, on your right hand? Even if the actual tip itself isn't touching, you were pretty close to the edge on that, weren't you?
Pretty close to staying.
You were within a half inch or a quarter of an inch of the tip, weren't you, Ms. Mazzola?
I couldn't tell how close I was on...
Drop of the swatches there, Ms. Mazzola, is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, you're having some difficulty getting the swatch to get onto the stain there, right?
Right.
Slow down, stop. And so now you've moved your fingers on the dirty glove that had been in contact with the pavement down toward the tip of those tweezers, haven't you?
They are still a ways away from the tip.
I understand that. But you've moved them down away from the position they were normally in to try and get that swatch to come off the tip, haven't you?
Yes.
And that's the same hand that had the dirt on the fingers, correct?
I believe so.
Continue. Now, Ms. Mazzola, between the collection, now you're collecting item number 6, is that right?
That's correct.
And between the collection of items 5 and item 6, you never changed your gloves, did you?
That's correct.
And is the reason you never changed your gloves because no one at SID ever taught you to change your gloves?
They don't need to teach you when to change your gloves. You change your gloves periodically.
Well, did anyone at LAPD, SID ever teach you to change your gloves between the handling of different bloodstains?
No.
Now, you said that one of the procedures that you had been taught, thank you, that one of the procedures that you had been taught at LAPD was to put some scale in the photograph, such as a tape, such as a ruler, to indicate the size of the actual blood stain, correct?
Sustained.
Well, were you taught, as part of your instruction on forensic photography, to have a ruler placed in the scene?
Sustained.
Ms. Mazzola, did you use a ruler when doing this demonstration to indicate, for purposes of documenting the stain, the size of the stain?
Overruled.
No.
And did you not do that because the prosecutors didn't tell you to do that?
I didn't do that. No one told me not to.
All right. One moment, Your Honor.
Certainly.
Ms. Mazzola, how many crime scenes have you collected bloodstains at since June 13th, 1994?
Two, I believe.
And would you agree that additional training and more experience makes you more proficient today than you were 10 months ago?
Experience helps.
And would you agree that when collecting blood or blood stains, mistakes can occur?
Mistakes can happen, yes.
And would you agree that when collecting blood stains, especially in evidence that's going to go out for DNA analysis, that the criminalist must understand how, in the course of making different mistakes, DNA could become degraded?
I don't think we bear in mind just DNA specifically. We look at any serological testing.
Were you ever taught at the SID Mini Academy any connection at all between the mistakes that can happen at a crime scene and the effects it will have on DNA or other serological testing?
Sustained. Rephrase the question.
Now, the wet swatches, Ms. Mazzola, were placed in the truck in brown paper bags. Is that right?
That's correct.
Does the LAPD SID unit have a written procedure for storing biological evidence in the van?
I do not know.
Well, there's a refrigerator in the van, isn't there?
Yes.
Did Fung instruct you to put the bloodstained swatches in the refrigerator?
Overruled.
No, he did not.
And you didn't see Fung put them in the refrigerator, did you?
No.
Would you agree, Ms. Mazzola, that, or were you aware of the fact that the refrigerator worked at least some of the time?
I was aware that it worked some of the time, yes.
And that it would work for several hours before eventually the battery going dead?
I wasn't sure how long it would work.
Well, had you ever been aware of the fact that it did work for more than 1 or 2 hours?
I don't remember if I ever found that out.
You didn't find out how long it did work for?
No.
Well, would you agree, Ms. Mazzola, that even a few hours of keeping wet blood swatches in a refrigerator is better than not keeping them there at all?
Sustained.
Well, Ms. Mazzola, you said that you had been told by people at LAPSID that heat can have some effect on bacteria growing on the blood swatches. Isn't that correct?
Sustained. Counsel, I assume there's some other witness who's going to testify to these effects.
One moment, Your Honor. Ms. Mazzola, when you came back to Rockingham later in the afternoon on the 13th, the first item of evidence that you collected inside the house was item number 12. Is that right?
I believe so, yes.
And item number 12 is more than a single drop of blood, isn't it?
If I remember correctly, it is.
In fact, it is 3 drops of blood, isn't it?
I'm not exactly sure how many.
Well, the other drops of blood or blood stains that you collected from the driveway that day, they were all individual drops, were they not?
Yes.
And weren't you taught, Ms. Mazzola, that whenever you have distinct drops, even if they're close together, that they should be collected in separate packages?
That was up to the discretion of the supervisor.
Let me show you 14. Ms. Mazzola, did you receive a handout from the SID unit entitled Collection and Preservation of Body Fluids? You have it?
I might have. I don't remember.
Next in order would be
1118, 1118.
show you this. Let me ask you to take a look at item number 13.
Okay.
By the way, Ms. Mazzola, also look at this. These 2 pages represent a handout that you received at the SID Mini Academy.
Yes, they look familiar.
Okay. And in the handout that you received from the SID Mini Academy, weren't you told specifically, quote, if there is more than one distinct stain, these should be treated as different stains and collected separately?
That's what the handout says.
All right. And Ms. Mazzola, does it anywhere in that handout say, oh, but wait a second, you can make an exception if the senior criminalist says to?
Sustained.
Did you ever receive any written instructions at all from LAPD SID suggesting that you could make an exception from that rule when the senior criminalist so chose?
There was nothing written down.
In fact, even on the demo board that we just looked at, Ms. Mazzola, items 5 and 6 are only several inches apart, aren't they?
I believe, well, what do you qualify as several?
Would you agree, Ms. Mazzola, that items 5 and 6 are within a foot of one another?
They could be within a foot, yes.
Ms. Mazzola, I believe you said that you had also been taught that it wasn't necessary to pick up every single drop in an area, but only to pick up representative drops. Is that correct?
That's correct.
In fact, other than the 3 drops that you saw in the foyer, where you picked up item number 12, weren't there some other small drops in the vicinity that you didn't bother to collect?
I don't remember if I saw any other little drops around that area or not.
But you would agree, ma'am, that there were at least a few drops in that foyer area where you collected number 12?
Yes.
And Ms. Mazzola, I believe you said that from looking at the drops outside, one could not tell which direction they were going in. Isn't that correct?
Did not look at them as to try to determine directionality. I don't have any experience in that field.
Well, did Mr. Fung in your presence say that they had any particular direction?
Sustained.
And I believe you said, Ms. Mazzola, before that you can't tell whether or not this trail of blood drops at Rockingham is leading from the house to the Bronco or from the Bronco to the house. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
Just for foundation for the next question.
That's what she said.
In fact, Ms. Mazzola, from what you just said, the greatest number of drops that you saw in any particular area was that concentration of drops in the foyer, inside the front door. Isn't that correct?
That is correct.
Let me ask you a hypothetical, Ms. Mazzola. Ms. Mazzola, as a criminalist, have you learned that when a person initially cuts himself or herself, you bleed more profusely, and then as clotting occurs, the bleeding dies down? Did you learn that?
Yeah, on the stuff of expertise.
Sustained.
Well, Ms. Mazzola, just from your common everyday experience, have you ever had a cut?
Yes.
Calls for an opinion conclusion.
Sustained.
Ms. Mazzola, what do you know, both professionally and from your own experiences, as to how frequently blood drops are made when you first get cut and how they dissipate as time passes?
Same objections.
Oh, do you know anything about those topics?
I don't know how fast the blood drops form or drop.
Well, let me ask you this hypothetical, Ms. Mazzola. If someone cut himself in the foyer of his house, might he bleed more profusely inside before going outside? It's a hypothetical.
Sustained. No, it has to be within the expert's expertise. It's not here.
As a criminalist, Ms. Mazzola, have you been trained, have you received any training at all in looking at blood pattern? Any?
A very little bit, not much at all.
Well, Ms. Mazzola, would you agree that the pattern of drops that you observed, on June 13th at Bundy are consistent?
Your Honor, I object any further along these lines.
Oh, let me hear the question.
Are consistent, Ms. Mazzola, with an individual cutting himself inside the house where you observed
Sustained.
those 3 drops?
Sustained. Counsel, this is beyond her expertise.
One moment. Next in order then. We'll pick this up.
1119. Yeah, thank you. Wind it up.
All right, one moment, Your Honor.
No, go ahead and finish your thought.
Ms. Mazzola, do you recognize that photograph?
Yes,
And is that photograph showing at least 3 different blood drops on
Yes.
the foyer near the card number 12?
yes,
And isn't it true, Ms. Mazzola, that that was the only blood drops or blood stains that you observed on the first floor of the house?
that's correct.
And isn't it true, Ms. Mazzola, that after you collected those blood drops in item number 12 in the foyer near the front door, that you then walked up the stairway?
I believe we started going up the stairs, yes.
And you examined the light carpet on the stairs?
Yes,
And as you examined that light carpet on the stairs, there was absolutely no blood stains seen there at all, right?
I did not observe any.
Well, you were looking, weren't you?
Right,
And wasn't Dennis Fung looking?
yes,
And he didn't say he observed any either, did he?
that's correct.
And you were not only looking for blood drops at that point, you were also looking for dried flecks of blood as well, weren't you?
Anything that was red,
And you didn't see anything that was red on this white carpet ascending all the way up the stairs?
I don't remember what color the carpet was.
Well, was it light colored, ma'am?
It was light, yes.
It was the kind of color that if there was a red drop, it would stand out, wouldn't it?
Yes,
And then as you walked down the hallway on that second floor toward Mr. Simpson's bedroom, there was also that same light-colored carpeting, correct?
I don't recall. Could be, I don't remember.
Well, when you were examining the floor, weren't you at that point?
Yes,
And you didn't see any blood drops there either, did you?
that's correct.
And you didn't see any flecks of blood, did you?
No,
And when you examined that stairway going up the stairs, ma'am, did you examine the banister also?
yes,
And on the banister, ma'am, there were no flecks of blood, were there?
I personally did not observe any.
Well, did Mr. Fung personally observe them in your presence?
Not in my presence, no.
And on that banister, there were no flecks of blood either, were there?
I did not see any.
And Mr. Fung didn't mention any to you, did he?
No,
And if you had seen them, you would have collected them, wouldn't you?
yes,
And you would have photographed them.
yes,
And also on that banister, ma'am, there were no smears of blood, were there? Indicating that somebody had blood on their hands. Isn't that correct?
I did not recall seeing anything like that.
And Mr. Fung didn't observe any either that he mentioned to you, did he?
Sustained.
Did Mr. Fung, in your presence, say to you that he had observed any smears of blood on the banister?
Sustained. Counsel, why don't you rephrase that question? Did Mr. Fung point out to you any blood smears, et cetera? et cetera?
Thank you, Your Honor. You can answer the
No, he
judge's
did
question.
not.
Okay. Why don't we stop at this point, Your Honor?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our recess for the afternoon. Please remember all of my admonitions to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves. Don't form any opinions about the case. Don't allow anybody to communicate with you. And do not conduct any deliberations till the matter has been submitted to you. As far as the jury is concerned, we will stand in recess until 9 o'clock. I'll see counsel as soon as the jury has departed. June the 14th, and you wanted the reports of her activities for some particular reason.
Yes, Your Honor. At the hearing on August 23rd, Ms. Mazzola testified that she had personally participated in the processing of the now dried swatches on the morning of June 14th with Mr. Fung at the laboratory. This morning she suggested for the first time, Your Honor, that on the morning of June 14th she did not participate in the processing of evidence in this case with Mr. Fung, but instead spent the morning before she went to the print shed doing paperwork on another case. That was her testimony. I'd like to see this paperwork that she claims that she was doing in the evidence processing unit during the 2 or 3 hours that morning before she went to the print shed. I mean, I frankly don't believe her, and I think that I'm allowed to challenge her credibility with regard to that representation because it contradicts her testimony at the August 23rd hearing. And I want to see if this paperwork which supports her claim.
All right, what
I'm going to redact it, by the way.
Under 1054.1, what part of that statute applies to this particular report?
One moment.
Let me cut to the chase. I mean, is there some reason that the prosecution doesn't want to provide the court with a copy of any report?
Your Honor, I don't have a copy in my possession at any rate, but the only reason that we're objecting to it is because I just don't believe it falls within any of the discovery provisions. And I think that the prosecution's interests have been hurt by over-compliance with discovery. It has not worked. It has not served our interests. It has not sped the case along. And I think that it's in our interest at this time on every discovery issue to try to see that we are not required to do anything more than what is mandated under the discovery law. And that is my position. So it has nothing to do with this particular report. I haven't seen the report. I don't know how it could be located. It simply has to do with not wanting to provide discovery beyond our discovery obligations.
Your Honor, it's not discovery as if I'm trying to find out the actual information about some other case. I don't care about the, it'll be redacted. But what she said on August 23rd under oath in this courtroom is that she spent the morning of June 14th, before going to the print shed with Dennis Fung, processing the swatches in this case. Today, for the very first time, she contradicted herself on that point, and she said that she wasn't processing specimens with Dennis Fung the morning of June 14th before going to the print shed, because instead she was doing the paperwork on another case. I believe, Your Honor, that I'm allowed to impeach her with that paperwork to the extent that it does not corroborate her sworn testimony here. And it would be a relevant written statement used to impeach this witness. That's what it's for.
Well, counsel, isn't this real collateral, and haven't you already gotten the benefit that you've got one statement here and another statement today that contradicts that statement? I mean, haven't you got the impeachment value out of that?
No. 1 second, Your Honor. Your Honor, this witness has been suggesting on many different areas in this case that her testimony on August 23rd was inaccurate because she hadn't had time to really think about it. Whereas now that she's had more time to think about it, her testimony at this trial should be given greater weight. And what she's saying on this particular point is it should be given greater weight because she now remembers that morning, for the 2 or 3 hours that she was there, that she was preoccupied doing paperwork in another case. All I want to do is see that paperwork to see whether or not it corroborates her bald-faced claim that she made before Your Honor this morning, that that's what she was doing. I think in light of the fact that it is a flat-out contradiction from her testimony on August 23rd, bearing in mind that she's going to say that what she said on August 23rd should not be given any serious consideration by the jury because she didn't know what she was saying, that I should be entitled now to impeach the claim that she made this morning by showing her that there isn't this paperwork to support her claim that that's what she was doing during the morning.
All right, how do we get around 1054.1? Under what category does that fall?
Well, Your Honor, number one, I believe that her testimony on August 23rd was in fact the correct testimony, the truthful testimony. And to the extent that it is truthful, it is exculpatory evidence. And to the extent, Your Honor, that this written report undermines her claim today that she spent the time doing this.
Do you have any case that describes something like this as exculpatory evidence under California case law?
Well, Your Honor, not just as exculpatory evidence, Your Honor, but I would submit, I don't have a case before me. Your Honor, even if you thought about it in terms of 352, what are we talking about here? We're talking about the people producing a single report which can be redacted so as no information about another case is disclosed, simply to show how long it is and how much time was expended on it to undermine her claim that she's made under oath in this courtroom, that she spent the entire morning when she arrived before going to the print shed involved in, on processing papers in another case. It just doesn't make sense. And I should be entitled that much leeway. That is not a collateral matter, Your Honor. I'm not going into proving the other case. I'm simply going to prove, Your Honor, that her testimony at August 23rd was the truthful and correct testimony, and her testimony today just wasn't credible. That's the purpose of it. And I also think under the same section, Your Honor, it comes in under subsection F. It's a relevant written or recorded statement of this witness. She is the one who made the recorded statement.
Keep reading. It's about something the prosecution intends on producing. That's the modifier. All right, I'll take your request under submission. My tentative ruling is to deny your request. Bring me something that says that you're entitled to it. All right?
Well, yes, there's a second matter, Your Honor.
And, yes.
I asked on Friday, or Thursday, I asked the prosecutor to simply produce in court for my cross-examination of Ms. Mazzola the actual evidence that she collected on the 13th and the 14th. Her evidence, okay, which means the coin envelopes and the bindles. And the people last week said they would think about it, and they told me this morning they've decided that they're not going to bring it in here. And I believe that I am entitled to confront this witness with the actual evidence that she collected in this case. And that's what I would like to do tomorrow morning. So I would ask the court to instruct the people to produce in court tomorrow morning the actual items, which would be the original coin envelopes and the original bindles.
Okay. Mr. Goldberg?
Well, Your Honor, the problem is that, of course, there are several problems. One of them is that we are talking about biological evidence, a lot of which has not been tested. For example, on our chain of custody boards, we only have the items that were tested. We tested item number 6 and item number 7, but the prosecution did not test 3 and 4 at this time because obviously we've had to prioritize and the laboratories are inundated with the amount of material that we've given them. So they're talking about bringing in evidence that still contains biological evidence that can be tested, defrosting it, destroying its utility for any future testing, evidence that constitutes a biohazard and should not be in court at any rate, and has made absolutely no showing as to why we are going to destroy the evidence in this case. I mean, obviously the defendant doesn't care about destroying the evidence in this case because it's not going to exonerate him, but we still have an interest in trying to preserve the evidence to the extent that it exists. They have been provided with an opportunity to inspect all of this evidence in Albany at a tremendous expense to the people. It has been photographed by the prosecution. We have provided them with photographs of it. They have had the opportunity to inspect it on a variety of other occasions at an enormous expense and burden to the people.
Well, rather than saying all evidence that this witness collected, is there anything in particular that you need, Mr. Neufeld?
Well, yes, Your Honor, but let me just, well, it's the items of the bloodstains that were actually collected by Ms. Mazzola and at Bundy and at Rockingham. That's what we're talking about here. Those are the items. Let me just say two things.
How many items? Which
Um,
specific items from the property report? I take it you haven't even reduced this to a written request to the prosecution.
Your Honor, that's true, but, you know, let the prosecutor submit to you a single authority to support his point that it's going to be
counsel,
destroyed. It's not going to
no.
be destroyed.
Wait, Mr. Neufeld, I'm just interested in what efforts have you made to try to get them to bring us over? First effort is to identify specifically what it is you want. I'm asking you now, tell me what you want. I'm just curious if you even have a written list of these items, which would help me immensely to get started here.
The items of the bloodstains collected at Bundy, which would be items 41 through 52. That's, and we're not talking about a huge amount of evidence here. These are coin envelopes that are this large, Your Honor. 41 through 52. At Rockingham, we are talking about items 3, 4, 5. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, Your Honor. Item 1, item 4, 5, 6.
All right, counsel, what we're going to do is I'm going to stand in recess until tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. I want you to prepare a list of what it is you want from the prosecution. Give it to the prosecution. I want from the prosecution by 8:30 tomorrow morning a list of any specific objections as to why those items cannot be produced in court.
Your Honor, there is one.
Yes, to the specifics requested by the defense. I assume that if there is any refrigeration problem, they can be packed, brought over, exhibited briefly. I assume that this is not a tremendous logistical problem since we're talking about a lab that's less than a mile away from here.
Your Honor, just so the record's clear on this, these items were sent to Albany. They were taken out of the freezer for extended periods of time.
Mr. Neufeld, stop while you're ahead. All right, tomorrow morning.
Just one question. If they have their list by 8:30, how are we also supposed to...
I'm ordering you to confer, provide the prosecution with a list. I'm giving the prosecution until tomorrow morning at 8:30 to lodge any written objections that they have to those items, and I'll make an order, if it's appropriate, tomorrow morning, directing LAPD, SID to bring those things over, packed in dry ice if necessary.
Okay, so they're going to give their list test tonight.
Right now.
I'm going to give the list in 5 minutes.
Right now.
All right.
All right? Do we understand each other?
Yes,
Great.
sir.
Mr. Cochran.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
We started off the morning, and I'd like to finish off the day, Your Honor. Your Honor, we had made an informal request, I believe, for the so-called Cato-Kalin tapes. Have they not been made available to us?
No, if you recall, the prosecution said that they had turned over a set to the court and that they were available to you from the court anytime you wanted to take them and copy them.
Can we do that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
I've had them sitting in my chambers for the last 2 weeks now.
Well,
3 weeks.
Can we get those? We'll work that
Absolutely.
for Your Honor's clerk. And the other thing is, could the court set aside some time this week? We need one of your famous graphs, because we need to re-calendar certain of our motions that are kind of fallen by the wayside. But, you know, at your convenience, we need to probably get that back on track.
Actually, we probably ought to have a brief morning's chambers conference, perhaps Thursday morning,
Okay.
just to get a list of all the matters that we have not considered. I'll have Mrs. Robertson put together a list of the motions that we have not addressed yet or have been taken off calendar.
That'll be fine. And there's one other witness we're going to, I think, interview at some point when the court decides it's appropriate.
That is correct.
So that's fine. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, counsel. All right, counsel, we had 2 matters to take up before the jury joins us. Mr. Neufeld, was there any additional authority you wanted to bring to the court's attention regarding discovery of reports on other cases alleged to have been created on June 14 by Ms. Mazzola?
Your Honor, I don't have authority in other cases with that particular fact pattern. I would simply, remind the court that there are other United States Supreme Court cases such as NEUFELD versus Illinois, Giglio, cases like that which talk about if there is some piece of data which would directly contradict the testimony being proffered by the prosecution witness, then the prosecutor has a duty to turn that over. In this case, it is just our position that they could not produce a contemporaneous document that would support Ms. Mazzola's position that she was filling out, property reports on the morning of June 14th.
All right. Mr. Goldberg, any final comment on that matter?
No.
All right. Court's ruling will stand. All right. As to the production of the various pieces of evidence, I've received the people's written objections. Mr. Neufeld, do you have any comment?
Your Honor, the one point I would make is that, I don't think there's any question as a matter of relevance that I'm entitled to confront this witness with the actual items that she collected and ask her whether or not those are in fact the items that she collected and the envelopes that she put the evidence in that day and the bindles that she used the very next day. I'm entitled to ask her those questions because that is the beginning of the chain of custody in this case. And as the court knows, the defense has been attacking the chain of custody in its opening statement and throughout this case and intends to continue to do so. So I don't think there's any question about relevancy. Their only issue might be that some of the things we ask for may be too difficult or burdensome. I'd be willing to compromise, Your Honor, and not have them produce the newer bindles that were created when portions of samples went out to other laboratories. I just want them to produce the original coin envelopes and the original bindles that were produced by Fung and Mazzola on the 13th and 14th. So I'm willing to give up the second portion of the request.
All right. And which items are those
Oh,
that you're requesting?
sorry. I did provide a written list to the people, and the items are item 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11, 12, 14, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, and 52. So we're just talking about the coin envelopes and the bindles, the originals, not any of the new ones for those items.
All right. Mr. Goldberg.
Well, counsel still has not shown any plausible justification as to why he needs the actual envelopes as opposed to photographs, and I believe that we have photographs of all of these items. And more importantly, Your Honor, what counsel is asking is not nearly as simple as it sounds on its face. He has not really come up with a list of the items that he wants, because many of these items were rebooked as new item numbers when we're talking about the bindles that were originally used for the purpose of containing the items. By the way, it seems to me that the bindles themselves have no relevance in terms of the chain of custody. The chain of custody would be based on what was on the coin envelope itself, the number corresponding to a number of an item that was collected at the crime scene. In order to trace the bindles, what we'd have to do is we'd have to look first in the original coin envelope to determine whether they were there. In some instances, the original bindles were mailed out to an outside lab and then in a new transmittal coin envelope. And then when they came back, they would have been rebooked as a new number. We gave one example in our letter just to try to illustrate the problems of a particular item that has been sent out in a number of different transmittal envelopes where portions of the swatches are being used. Those items may have been sent out not only in new coin envelopes but in new transmittal bindles. But if the entire sample was sent out, then it is possible that the original bindle was then sent out to an outside laboratory. And the administrative burden of tracking this down, which can be done through the records, should not fall on the prosecution. So the defense should say which items they want, not just by saying I want item number 1 in the original bindle, but saying I want item number 1 and item number 385, or whatever perhaps that original bindle ended up as after it came back from the laboratory. They can do that just as easily as we can. They have all the records. In fact, they can do it more easily because not only do they have our records, but they have their own records because they've seen these materials in the original bindles and presumably created their own documentation of that, which they have not provided to us. So they are in just as good a position, if not better, than the prosecution to do this. They've also tested.
So your
A number of
objection
the
is
items
just the
here.
correlation of the items, the item numbers?
Well, my objection is threefold. Number one, that there's no justification for this. I mean, normally for discovery, if you're going to analogize this to discovery, either it comes under pre-proposition 115 law, you have to show a plausible justification, which was some
Well then, how
threshold
about if you don't want to
standard.
produce it, I'll suppress it?
Suppress each and every one of these items.
Correct. How about that? If you don't want to produce it, we'll suppress it.
But, well, Your Honor, I don't see how the two of them are connected. What I'm just saying is that,
Well, if you don't want to let them use it, then you can't use it. How's that?
but we're not using the originals. We've used photographs. We've used other means of accomplishing the same ends. And it also does not address the issue as to what are we going to do with the blood swatches that are still in some of these items that can still be tested. And so there are a number of concerns from this perspective, and not the least of which is why don't they identify? They can go through the records and do the tracking and provide us with more specific requests as to exactly what they want. I don't see why the burden necessarily falls on the prosecution's shoulder to do that tracking. For them just to say, I want item number 6,
All
and
right,
for us to track
you've
it all
made
the
the
way
point
through.
about the correlation of numbers. What other point do you have to make?
Well, there were 3 points. Plausible justification, no showing as to why he needs these items. Number 2, overly broad and unduly burdensome for the reasons that I suggested with the tracking and not identifying what he wants. And number 3, that these are biological samples that can still be tested. And what are we supposed to do with the actual swatches? Because he's saying he wants those too.
All right, Mr. Neufeld.
I'm not going to ask the witness to open up the bindle anyway to take swatches out of it. I don't care about that. Certainly with respect to them being biological specimens, they've been thought out several times before, sometimes for many, many hours. What we're talking about here is just bringing them over from Piper Tech, which is not that far away, for a couple of hours so they can be produced here in court.
All right, would you address the issue about correlation of the numbers?
Oh, sure. If you look at the letter, Your Honor, the letter says that when, in the main paragraph, it says that when laboratories were not sent out the entire sample, that they were sent out in new transmittal bundles, okay, and new transmittal coin envelopes. I'm not interested in the new transmittal envelopes, which got new numbers, nor the new transmittal bindles, which got new numbers. I'm only interested in the original coin envelopes and the original bindles. And by the way, every one of those coin envelopes and every one of those bindles has a number on it, the original number. If subsequently, even though it's not explained in this letter, an original bindle was also given a separate number, you would still have the original number on the original bindle. It's there. This is not difficult for them to produce. That's why I'm saying to the court that I'm willing to give up all those new transmittal bindles, all those new transmittal envelopes with the new numbers. I just want the original ones. And that's something they can get in 15 minutes.
But their argument is that it's been rebooked and now they have new numbers.
I don't, Your Honor, we asked to inspect these items on different occasions for the scientists to look inside them, and they had no problem producing them for the scientists. They did it every single time. I originally asked for this on Friday. They can do this within a half hour. Simply produce the original coin envelopes and the original bindles. They have a computer tracking system which shows where these items went. That's all I'm asking for. I'm not asking for any of the new ones, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, counsel. All right, the Los Angeles Police Department is ordered to produce items 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11, 12, 14, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, and 52 forthwith. All right, counsel, before we start with the jury, let me just give you a couple of admonitions. One, we're getting sloppy about the speaking objections. I have reissued a revised direction to counsel regarding attorney conduct. You were to read that and abide by it. I have probably sustained 1,000 objections so far in this trial regarding argumentative questions. For counsel's edification, if the question is a statement rather than a question to the witness, I'm going to sustain the objection. If I have to do that too many more times, I'm going to admonish counsel in front of the jury that that manner of questioning is improper. Mr. Neufeld, I don't mean to single you out, but would you just try to slow down a little with your pace for the court reporters, because it's both your pace and the Brooklyn accent that they are having difficulty with. All right. Also at noon, I want to meet with the co-lead counsel in chambers for about 15 minutes.
Your Honor, just so there's no misunderstanding with their compliance with what you just ordered, can it specify that that for those items they had to produce the original coin envelopes and the original bindles?
Yes.
Thank you.
It's not necessary. Is it necessary for this witness?
Not necessarily this witness. We can do it.
Let's have the jury.
Your Honor, I need to have someone call LAPD as soon as they're, so that they can start on this.
All right. Depends on how much we get done today. That's actually a prospective 1 o'clock on that new order. All right, let the record reflect that we've been rejoined by all the members of our jury panel. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Ms. Andrea Mazzola is again on the witness stand undergoing cross-examination by Mr. Neufeld. Good morning, Ms. Mazzola.
Good morning.
You're reminded you are still under oath, ma'am. Mr. Neufeld, you may resume.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hi. Morning, Ms. Mazzola.
Good morning.
Now, Ms. Mazzola, after you left Rockingham the first time, on the morning of June 13th, you and Dennis Fung went to the Bundy location, is that right?
That's correct.
And I think you testified on direct examination that when you got there, you and Dennis Fung first talked to the detectives and waited until the coroners had finished moving the bodies before you entered the scene. Is that correct?
Sustained. Rephrase the question.
Okay. Well, Ms. Mazzola, when you first arrived, the coroners were moving the bodies, were they not?
That's correct.
And were you present for a discussion with the detectives about the scene before you personally entered the crime scene?
I don't remember if I was or not.
When you stood outside the tape, were there any of the detectives with you?
I couldn't tell who were detectives or not.
Have you ever met Detectives Van Adder or Detective Lang?
I was not introduced to them.
Have you ever seen them on television?
Well, I know them now, yes.
And you'd recognize them?
Yes.
Okay. Well, were either of those detectives with you when you first arrived at Bundy that morning?
That question's vague. With you when you arrived?
Sorry. When you first arrived at Bundy that morning, before you actually went into the crime scene, while the coroners were still moving the bodies, Was Detective Van Adder standing or Detective Lang standing nearby you?
I don't remember.
Now, you said on direct examination that if the glove and the hat at Bundy were in contact with one another, trace evidence could or would be transferred. Is that an accurate statement of what you testified to?
Compound mistakes in testimony.
Overruled.
It's possible that they could transfer trace, yes.
Now, you said also that when you arrived, you saw Mr. Goldman's body covered with a white blanket. Is that correct?
Sustained.
Did you see Mr. Goldman's body covered with a white object when you arrived at Bundy?
When I arrived, no.
At some point that morning, did you see Mr. Goldman's body covered with a white object at Bundy?
Overruled.
Yes.
And you had been taught that trace evidence can move when bodies are manipulated at a murder scene. Haven't you been taught that?
Yes.
Now, let me just ask you one hypothetical, ma'am. If this white object that was on Mr. Goldman's body had been used to also cover Ms. Nicole Brown Simpson, then is it possible that trace evidence could move from the blanket to both victims?
Sustained.
Didn't you say a moment ago, ma'am, that you had been trained and taught at the LAPD that trace evidence can move when bodies are manipulated?
Overruled.
Yes.
And didn't you receive some training at the Sid Mini Academy on the dangers of trace evidence contaminating or cross-contaminating different evidence at a crime scene?
The transfer of trace evidence was brought up.
Okay. Now, let me just ask you this hypothetical again. If the same white object that you saw on Mr. Goldman's body had been previously lying on top of Miss Nicole Brown Simpson,
Sustained. It's an improper hypothetical.
right? Well, would you agree, ma'am, that trace evidence can move from the white object that you saw on top of the body to the clothing being worn by that person?
Is possible.
And the white object that you saw on top of Mr. Goldman, was that a white blanket?
I didn't get a very good look at it.
All right. Well, but you did see that there was some white object that had been on top of Mr. Goldman's body, correct?
It's vague as to white object.
Overruled.
Yes.
Did Dennis Fung instruct you to collect and to preserve that white object for analysis?
It's still vague, Your Honor, as to what the document.
Overruled. I
No.
assume somebody from the coroner's office is going to tell us what that is. Overruled.
He did not.
And to your knowledge, was that white object ever preserved for trace evidence analysis?
To my knowledge, no.
Did Dennis Fung even instruct you to examine that white object while you were at Bundy that day?
No.
As you sit here today, has anyone told you that at some point during that morning, an envelope and a glove had been moved at the Bundy location?
Calls for hearsay.
Overruled.
Would you please repeat the question again?
As you sit here today, has anyone ever told you that the envelope and the glove recovered at Bundy had been moved prior to your collection of it?
I'm not positive. They may have, but I'm not positive.
Well, I'm not asking you, and I apologize if the question was somewhat inartful. I'm not asking you whether you were told about the movement prior to your collecting it. I'm just asking you whether or not, at any time up until this morning, anyone had told you that both the envelope and the glove had been moved prior to the collection of those items.
Hearsay and
Overruled.
I don't know about the envelope. The glove might have been turned over. I'm not positive.
Well, motion to strike Louise's answer is not responsive.
Overruled.
One second.
What? And Ms. Mazzola, who was the person who told you that the glove was turned over?
Sue's testimony.
Overruled.
I can't remember who it was.
Did you speak to Dennis Fung about it?
I don't think so. I'm not
Did you speak to other supervisors at SID?
I'm not sure who it was.
You said also that at Bundy and Rockingham you wore a pair of rubber gloves to protect you from any kind of biohazards. Is that correct?
This states the testimony.
Overruled. But
Oh.
we've already covered this.
Well, as you sit here today, ma'am, do you have any independent recollection as to whether or not you changed your gloves at any point while you were at Bundy?
I changed my gloves several times.
You have an independent recollection of that?
Yes.
Did you testify in direct examination, ma'am, that it was your practice to simply change your gloves when they became uncomfortable? Remember testifying to that?
This states the testimony.
Sustained.
Didn't you testify in direct examination that it was your practice to change your gloves either when it became uncomfortable or when you went into a new area? Was that your testimony?
Calls for hearsay.
Overruled.
Page 1 site.
Is that your testimony, ma'am?
I don't remember if it's my exact words.
Well, fine. In sum and substance, is that what you testified to?
It's irrelevant.
Overruled. You can answer the question.
I assume so. And as you sit here today, do you have an independent recollection of finding the gloves uncomfortable at one point or another?
They became uncomfortable. We moved around. We changed gloves. You don't really need a reason to do it.
Well, no, ma'am, I'm just asking you, based on what you testified were your reasons for changing gloves, do you have an independent recollection as you sit here today of experiencing discomfort with the gloves and changing them as a result of that while you were at Bundy?
Yes,
You do have that recollection. And when did that occur, ma'am?
several times.
Tell me which times, at what point.
I don't remember the exact point.
Tell me as best you can, ma'am. When were the several times that you changed your gloves while you were at Bundy?
I don't remember exactly when I changed my gloves.
Well, give me approximately when, ma'am. You said it happened 2 or 3 times.
I think that misstates the evidence. Rephrase the question.
How many times did you say you did it, ma'am?
I changed my gloves many times. There's no reason to change it. You don't think about it. You just do it.
You said you have an independent recollection that you changed your gloves many times while you were at Bundy. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. Tell me the first time you changed your gloves at Bundy, ma'am.
As I said before, I don't know the exact time when I changed my gloves.
Well, tell me what you were doing at the moment you changed your gloves the first time, ma'am.
I don't remember.
Do you remember what you were doing the second time you changed your gloves?
No, I don't think when I change my gloves, I just do it.
So you don't have any independent recollection as to what you were doing at any point when you say you changed your gloves?
That's correct.
And one moment. Now, ma'am, between the time that you picked up the hat and the glove at Bundy, you didn't change your gloves then, did you?
No.
And the reason you know that you didn't do that then is because you saw it on the videotape. Isn't that correct?
I did see a videotape, yes.
Well, and that's the reason you know that you didn't change your gloves then, isn't it?
At that point, yes.
In fact, I think you testified that until you saw the videotape, you didn't even have an independent recollection of having picked up the glove and the hat at Bundy that day. Isn't that correct?
That misstates the testimony.
Overruled.
I wasn't sure if I picked them up or Mr. Fong.
Right. And so with in the absence of an independent, I'm sorry, so am I correct in stating that you didn't have an independent recollection of it until you actually saw the videotape?
I could not remember. That is correct.
Are you ready on that? You want to go for permission? I just want to show a portion of the videotape where she's picking up the hat and the glove.
Mr. Harris?
May I, with the court's permission?
Yes.
Okay, I'll play that portion of the tape.
Doesn't look like it. There we go. Do we have it queued up to the portion that's pertinent here? Because we've already seen this tape before, counsel.
No, that's what I'm asking for, just the portion where she's picking it up.
Well, my question was, is it queued up?
Yes, it is, Your Honor. Mr. Zola, can you stop 1 second? Can you stop 1 second, thanks. Mr. Zola, you a lefty?
Right-handed.
Okay, but you picked up the hat with your left hand, is that right?
Yes?
And, okay, and could you go forward then?
All right, let's frame 1351-4618.
Stop. Stop. Now, Ms. Mazzola, at this point you are using obviously the same hands with the same gloves, and you are opening up the bag, correct, for the next item?
Correct.
And the next item is the glove, right?
Correct.
And you are, okay, continue please. Stop. Now, Ms. Mazzola, you used the same left hand to pick up the glove that you used to pick up the hat, right?
Correct.
In fact, you used the same fingers, didn't you?
I don't know if it's the exact same fingers, but I use the same hand.
All right. And Ms. Mazzola, you didn't, in between picking up the hat and the glove, look down to see whether or not you had picked up any other biological material or any trace evidence on your hand, did you?
No.
In fact, before you picked up the hat, you didn't inspect your hand to see whether or not you had any other biological matter on your fingertips, did you?
No.
And after you picked up the hat and put it in the bag, you didn't inspect your hand to see whether or not there was any trace evidence from the hat before you picked up the glove, did you?
No.
Had you been taught to do that, ma'am, at the Sid Mini Academy?
No.
Would you agree, ma'am, that it's possible the trace evidence from the hat can be transferred to the rubber glove, transferred to your rubber glove when you pick it up?
It's possible.
And would you agree, ma'am, that it's possible the trace evidence that's on your rubber glove can then be transferred to the leather glove when you pick that up?
Improbable, since I handled other items between picking up the hat and the glove.
Ma'am, did you say before that one way the trace evidence gets transferred from one object to another is when those two objects come in contact?
Correct.
And would you agree that not every time two objects come in contact does trace evidence move from one object to the next, right?
Depends on what type of items they are.
Depends on what type of items they are, it depends where the fibers are, isn't that right?
Correct.
Depends where the hairs are.
Correct.
Okay. So you could handle several different things, and the hairs and fibers might not come off on the first thing or the second thing you touch, but might come off on the third item. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
Now, initially on direct examination, Ms. Mazzola, didn't you say that it wasn't necessary to change your gloves between picking up the hat and the leather glove because the two objects were touching? Did you testify to that on direct examination?
They were in close contact, yes.
Did you testify, not that they were simply in close contact, but did you testify that they were actually touching?
I don't remember if I said touching or close contact.
Well,
or
would
what.
you agree, when you, when you use the expression close contact, does that mean touching to you, or does that mean that the two objects are close to one another but not actually touching?
Could be anywhere from extremely close to each other to actually touching.
Well, how did you mean it when you said in close proximity, ma'am?
Extremely close,
But not necessarily touching.
not necessarily touching.
23. Wait 1 minute. Line 23, okay. Ms. Mazzola, when you testified on direct examination last week in this case, were you asked these questions and did you give these answers? Question: and did you change gloves in between collecting the hat and the glove? Answer: no. Question by Mr. Goldberg: why not? Answer: the hat and the glove at Bundy were touching each other. They were not in two completely separate areas. They were in physical contact with each other. Were you asked those questions and did you give those answers last week at this trial?
Apparently so, yes.
And, ma'am, after you testified to that, there was a recess, wasn't there?
I don't know if there was a recess or not.
Well, later on, Mr. Goldberg asked you the same question again about the physical relationship to the hat and the glove. Did he not?
I don't remember.
Right. Reading now from page 23790.
Seven.
23790. Very brief sidebar, Your Honor.
For what purpose?
To get a stipulation about a recess.
Proceed.
Are you ready on this other page? Sure. Well, starting on one moment, Your Honor. at line 24, 23. Okay. And, ma'am, after the luncheon recess, were you asked,
Ask, you need a foundational question for it, too.
well, ma'am, at page 23790, were you asked these questions and did you give these answers? Question by Mr. Goldberg. Okay. Now, you said on direct examination, when I was asking you about collecting the glove and the watch cap, the cap, that they were in close proximity or touching. Answer, uh-huh. Question, which was it? Answer, reviewing photographs, they were in very close proximity to each other. Were you asked those questions, did you give those answers?
Yes.
And just before you asked those questions and you gave those answers at page 23790, were you sitting in this courtroom and present when Judge Ito said to you,
Wait. Do you recall if there was a recess of any type in between those questioning?
I honestly can't remember when the recesses are.
All right, court will
can I show
take...
the transcript for fresh recollection?
Wait. We have a procedure called taking judicial notice of the court's own proceedings. I will take judicial notice, and the jury is to assume to be true the fact that there was, in fact, a recess in between those two questions. It's a matter of the court's own record. Proceed.
Thank you. Now, during that luncheon recess, Ms. Mazzola, did the prosecutor tell you that the photographs would not support your testimony that the hat and glove were actually touching?
No, I object to this. Perhaps we can approach. I object to counsel's insinuations.
Do you have any discussion with the prosecutor or any attorney regarding this issue over the...
I looked at a photograph.
Proceed.
And was that photograph shown to you by the prosecutor?
I can't recall who showed it to me, but I saw a photograph.
Well, you didn't have it on your own. Someone else in this building had to show it to you. Is that right?
Correct.
And it was after you were shown those photograph or a photograph that you then changed your testimony after lunch. Is that correct?
I saw that they were extremely close, but not touching, yes.
And so you changed your testimony after lunch. Is that correct?
I corrected it, yes.
Thank you. And, ma'am, is it your position that the reason you didn't have to change your gloves between picking up the hat and the glove is because the two items were in close proximity to one another?
Correct.
Well, when you make that decision that two objects in close proximity but not touching don't require a change of gloves on your part, are you assuming that the hat and the glove were worn by the same person?
I don't assume anything.
And you can't assume anything
That's
about
correct.
that, can you?
That's correct.
So you don't know whether or not the hat and the glove were worn by the same person, do you?
That's correct.
You certainly didn't know that at the time you were collecting the items.
That's correct.
And you don't even know when the items were placed at that location where you collected them. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
You don't know whether those two items were placed on the ground at different times, do you?
That is correct.
And isn't it true, since you can't assume either of those two facts, ma'am, that one cannot assume that just because two items are close to one another, although not touching, that the trace evidence on one will most likely be on the other?
Assumes the fact not analysis it was trace evidence.
Sustain.
Well, in the event that there... I'm sorry, one moment. When you pick up the hat, you have to be careful because there may be trace evidence on it. That's something that you were taught at the SID Mini Academy. Isn't that right?
I was taught that, yes.
And you're also taught to be careful with different items that are collected at a crime scene because they may have different types of hairs and fibers on them. Isn't that correct?
Not necessarily different hairs and fibers, but just hairs and fibers.
Well, were you taught to assume that all items found at a crime scene are likely to have the same hairs and fibers because they're found at the same crime scene?
There's no telling what type of hairs and fibers are present.
And there's no telling whether or not the same hairs and fibers on one object would be found on another object, correct?
Correct.
And you can't make that assumption based on how far apart two items are to one another, can you?
Correct.
So, ma'am, wouldn't you agree that your earlier testimony in this case that you didn't have to change your gloves between picking up the hat and the leather glove here because they were close to one another and therefore trace evidence on one would be on the other one is not really consistent with what you were taught by the SID people?
I don't know.
When you say you don't know, do you mean you don't know what the supervisors at SID taught you?
I'm saying I don't know if it would be inconsistent with.
Well, if the objects had been 15 feet apart, had you been taught by people at SID Academy to change gloves before picking up the different objects?
Gloves would be changed.
You were taught that they should be changed under those circumstances.
Well, if they were far apart, yes.
Well, I said 10 or 15 feet apart under
Right.
those circumstances.
Not getting down to exact distances, but far apart, yes.
Well, in your own mind, based on your own experience, do you consider 10 feet far apart?
Yes.
And so you would change the gloves under those circumstances.
Yes.
How about 5 feet?
Yes.
3 feet?
Yes.
But you made a decision here that because the two items were within inches of one another, that you didn't have to change the gloves. Is that correct?
Since that's not evidence, inches.
The decision to change gloves was made. We did not change gloves.
Was the decision made by you, or was the decision given to you by Dennis Fung?
I can't recall if I asked him about it or what. I'm not exactly sure what conversation we had at that
I
time.
mean, it may very well be that you asked Dennis Fung whether you should change your gloves for this situation, and he said no.
It's possible.
Okay. Now, also on the 13th, did you recover a set of keys in the dirt at Bundy?
Yes.
And when you recovered that set of keys, Ms. Mazzola, did you notice that there was blood on them?
Since that's not evidence.
I can't recall if I remember seeing blood or not.
Well, would you agree, based on your training, that the presence of blood on keys might be evidence that someone used the keys to defend themselves?
Also speculation.
Sustained.
Have you been trained as a criminalist to make an effort to identify relevant evidence?
Overly broad.
Yes.
And have you been trained as a criminalist to identify when items of evidence have blood on them?
You notice if something has blood, yes.
And if it has blood on it, that's something that's going to get special attention from you as a criminalist, isn't it?
Vague as to special attention.
It is handled slightly differently.
And so, if the keys had blood on them, as a criminalist, wouldn't you want to have those keys examined for serology purposes?
Overruled.
It is possible they would go to serology.
Well, don't the serologists and other people at SID expect the criminalist who is collecting the evidence to give them a debriefing, so to speak, of what you found and to hear your suggestions as to what should be done? Isn't that something you're expected to do?
That would be up to the supervising criminalist.
Okay. And, but you would agree that the supervising criminalist, whoever he or she may be in a given crime scene, is expected to brief the other people at SID as to what items may have relevant or potentially relevant evidence.
No foundation calls for speculation.
Overruled. You can ask the question.
Yes,
And based on what you were taught, you would expect a supervising criminalist to tell the people at SID that keys that were recovered had blood on them.
Sustained.
Now, you also picked up an envelope which contained eyeglasses at the Bundy scene, didn't you?
yes,
Did you see the body of Mr. Goldman dragged across that envelope?
no,
You noted on your field notes that morning that the envelope contained eyeglasses, correct?
correct.
And how about you read personally, or has anyone at SID read to you the following provision of the Los Angeles Police Department manual, referring to section 510.10?
This is an improper procedure, Your Honor. It's hearsay.
Sustained.
Well, in your training at SID, were you given instruction as to what methods to utilize for the proper booking of items of evidence?
Yes,
And were you told or instructed that when you take an item which is in a closed container, that you are expected to open that container to see what's inside? Is that something you've been taught?
that is something that's been mentioned, yes.
And is there in fact a standard procedure utilized at SID for inspecting envelopes or other types of closed containers when you collect them to investigate what's inside?
I don't know if there's a standard procedure or not.
Well, is it your procedure to simply open the item and look inside and see what's there?
I leave that to the more experienced criminalists.
Well, you noted on your property noted on your property, I'm sorry, withdrawn. You noted on your field notes, Ms. Mazzola, that item 39 that was collected was an envelope with glasses. Is that correct?
Check the item number. Yes,
And did Mr. Fung open the envelope in your presence to show you that there was a pair of eyeglasses inside?
the envelope was not securely closed. You could see there were glasses inside.
Okay, so you saw a pair of eyeglasses inside just by looking through a partial opening in the envelope?
Correct.
And when you examined that pair of eyeglasses inside, did there seem to be anything unusual about it?
We, we just know that there were eyeglasses inside, and that was the extent of it.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the last part of your answer, ma'am.
So we just noted that there were eyeglasses inside the envelope, and that was the extent of it.
And at that point, when you peered into that envelope, you didn't notice that anything was missing from those pair of eyeglasses. Is that correct?
That's correct as far as I could see.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, I'd like the witness to open the envelope for item 39.
Do we have any butcher paper and
Here.
gloves?
I guess she needs gloves too.
Mr. Neufeld, I've asked Mrs. Robertson to see if she could get a sheet of butcher paper because of the nature of that item.
Thank you.
Why don't you just spread that out on the counter in front of you? All right, Mr. Neufeld, proceed. And this is evidence item, court evidence item, which, Mr. Neufeld?
It's People's Exhibit number 32.
People's
This is
32.
the larger plastic bag.
Thank you. Proceed. Mr. Goldberg, if you want to stand behind counsel there, you're welcome
Yeah.
to do so.
Now, Ms. Mazzola, before you begin opening this, the Ziploc bag, the large Ziploc bag that the items are in, can you tell what items are actually inside the Ziploc bag?
There is a brown paper bag with writing on it.
Okay.
There is a white envelope with writing on it, and appears to be a pair of glasses inside. And there appears to be 2 paper bindles with writing on each.
Now, the brown paper bag that you just described, would that be the brown paper bag that the white envelope with the eyeglasses in it was placed into at the crime scene?
Yes.
Okay. Could you please open the exhibit, please?
Don't you have that rule in New York? The witness is breaking the seals that are at the top zip part of the bag. Mr. Neufeld.
Now, could you please open the white envelope as well that was inside the bag? And remove the contents.
I wouldn't do that if I were you.
Now, Ms. Mazzola, how many lenses are inside that envelope?
1.
And this lens that you see in the envelope isn't even in the eyeglasses, right? It's outside the glasses, correct? But when you looked in the envelope that day, said there was nothing unusual about the pair of eyeglasses, correct?
Overruled.
I saw a pair of glasses.
Okay. You didn't notice, I'm sorry, withdrawn. Would you please feel the rest of the brown paper bag to see if there's any other lens in that?
Does not appear to be anything.
And there are two small bindles in there. Could you feel those to see if there's a lens in that? You don't have to open it.
Does not appear to be a lens.
Ms. Mazzola, do you know what happened to the second lens after you collected this pair of eyeglasses on the morning of June 13th?
Assumes facts not in evidence.
Sustained.
Well, Ms. Mazzola, you said a moment ago that when you collected the item, it was a pair of eyeglasses, correct?
Correct.
And you said that they were intact at that point, correct?
Mistakes the testimony.
Sustained.
Ms. Mazzola, did you say that you didn't notice anything at all unusual about the pair of eyeglasses?
Asked and answered.
Overruled.
I believe I said I noticed a pair of eyeglasses.
And did you also say that you didn't notice anything unusual when you peered into that envelope and looked at the pair of eyeglasses?
I noticed that there were a pair of eyeglasses in the envelope. I did not open the envelope.
Did you also testify a moment ago that when you looked into the envelope, though, you didn't notice anything unusual?
From what I could see, and as far as I looked, they were just a pair of eyeglasses.
And if a lens was missing from the pair of eyeglasses, that would be unusual, would it not?
That would be it.
Overruled.
That would be yes.
To your knowledge, has any investigation been conducted by the Scientific Investigation Division of the Los Angeles Police Department to find out where the second lens is?
Counsel, if you're saying it's irrelevant.
If she knows.
Assumes facts not in evidence.
Sustained.
You can put that away now, man.
Thank you.
Oh, actually, just wait 1 minute. With permission, I'd like to show another brief snippet of videotape.
Which videotape?
The videotape of that was shown both on the direct examination, also by the defense.
That doesn't help me. Which videotape?
Of Miss Mazzola passing the envelope to Dennis Fung.
That comment assumes facts that aren't in evidence, but you can show the videotape.
Passing an item to Dennis Fung behind the coroner's.
You can show the videotape.
Item 1082, Exhibit 1082.
We're looking at frames 1335, 10 to 13.
Yeah, could you just back up a second, please? Okay. Now, Ms. Mazzola, you said on direct examination that the object, it was your opinion that the object that you were passing to Mr. Fung at this moment is not the envelope which contained the eyeglasses. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I believe you said that it was your practice not to pass an object that had blood on it to an individual who didn't have gloves on. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And is that your basis for concluding it's not the envelope?
That, and it does not appear to be the right packaging. The main thing is I would not pass anything with blood on it to an ungloved colleague.
Now, by the time you picked up that envelope, it's already sometime, what, around noon, would you say, on the 13th?
I don't know the exact time.
Well, certainly later than 11 o'clock in the morning, right?
Yes.
And by that time, the blood on the envelope had dried, had it not?
It might have.
And, ma'am, isn't it true that one side of that envelope doesn't have very much blood on it? Take a look at it.
That's correct.
Could you please show the jury, hold it up for the jury, first the side, the back of the envelope, which has a fair amount of blood on it. And now please turn it around and display for the jury the side of the envelope which is pretty clean and doesn't have much blood on it. I withdraw that.
Jury can draw its own conclusion.
Right. Would you agree, ma'am, that the object in the video is not a brown bag?
Does not appear to be.
Let me just ask, 1492, were you able to see that? All right, thank you.
One moment. Could you turn over the envelope, please? And would you agree that it is not a coin envelope?
It does not appear to be one of the smaller coin envelopes.
Well, Ms. Mazzola, when you were packing items of evidence that day, the keys, the beeper, and other items, you put them in envelopes such as this that I'm showing you right now, indicating prosecution's exhibit 1630, D as in David?
They were in coin envelopes, the size depending on the size of the item.
Ma'am, isn't it true that that day on June 13th you had no coin envelopes that were the size of the object shown in the picture that you're looking at right now?
I can't recall if we had that size in the kits or not. I don't know.
It's not a plastic bag, is it, Ms. Mazzola?
No.
And it's not the posse box, is it, Ms. Mazzola?
No.
And all of your notes that day were being written on a clipboard, is that correct?
That's correct.
You didn't keep any small pad for any other purpose, did you?
No.
And that's not the clipboard, is it?
No.
Before you took the witness stand on direct examination, during your prep session, were you told that the defense in this case had suggested that this item in this picture was in fact the envelope that contained the glasses? Had you been told that?
I remember it being mentioned, yes.
And had you been told also that when Dennis Fung was confronted with that allegation, that Dennis Fung denied it?
Which allegation?
That item that you see in that image is in fact the envelope that contained the eyeglasses. Were you told that Dennis Fung denied it?
I might have been told that.
Right, referring to the image at 133407.
Yes. As C? It's being printed as sub-item C.
Right, 1082 sub C.
Right.
Thank you, Counsel.
Now, when you testified at the trial last week on direct examination, Mr. Goldberg simply put up this image and asked you whether it was the envelope. Is that correct?
Well, it's irrelevant.
Oral.
It's not impeaching.
Oral.
I believe so.
But when you were prepped on this particular matter during the prep sessions, you had been told that it was the defense position that it was the envelope, weren't you? You've been told that.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. And when you were told that, didn't Mr. Goldberg or other prosecutors tell you that it was the prosecution's position that it was not the envelope?
I don't believe they told me that they believed it was not the envelope.
Did they tell you they believed it was the envelope?
I don't recall if they told me one way or another.
And now going to show another small segment of the videotape that was shown by the prosecutor on direct examination.
Which item?
1078. See the brown object on the blanket?
There appears to be a dark object off to one side, yes.
Now, when you saw this videotape, when you were being prepped, I'm sorry, you did see this videotape while you were being prepped, didn't you?
I saw the videotape, yes.
Well, I mean, you didn't see it for the first time when you were on direct examination in this trial, did you?
That's correct.
And when you were being prepped by, and when you testified at the trial, you were asked by Mr. Goldberg, is that the leather glove? And I believe you said no. Is that correct?
Yeah, but this isn't impeaching. It's
Oral.
it's not wrong.
I don't know if those were the exact words.
In sum and substance. Would that be a fair statement, ma'am?
Oral.
That would be a fair statement.
Okay. But when you were prepped by the prosecutor in this case, weren't you told that it was the defense position that the brown object that you see on the white sheet of white blanket in this picture was in fact the Bundy glove? Were you told that?
I was asked if I remember the glove being there in that position, and then they mentioned that the defense was thinking it was the glove.
Okay. And so you knew when you testified at trial here and said it wasn't the glove, that the defense was taking the position that it was the glove, correct? You knew that before you took the witness stand.
I testified to where I remember seeing the glove myself.
Well, Ms. Mazzola, you knew before you got on the witness stand at this trial that the defense was taking the position that that was the glove, didn't you?
Yes.
And Ms. Mazzola, when you got on the witness stand here on direct examination, had you already been told that that glove had been moved at least once? prior to the time that it was collected?
I think that I remember hearing that it had been turned over or moved slightly.
Had you been shown photographs which displayed the glove in two different locations?
Two different positions, yes.
All right. And would it be fair to say, Ms. Mazzola, that you didn't know when you saw the glove in those two different positions whether the glove had been moved from position 1 to some other position and then have had someone else return it to what you saw as position 2? Is that a fair statement?
Unintelligible.
I just testified to where I remember seeing the glove when I saw it.
But Ms. Mazzola, even before you testified as to where you remember seeing the glove, you told us a moment ago that you were shown photographs which showed the glove in two different positions, correct?
Correct.
And would you agree that for the glove to get into two different positions, it had to have been moved by somebody or something? Would that be correct?
Overruled.
Correct.
And isn't it also possible, Ms. Mazzola, that the glove was originally in the position displayed in the first photograph that you saw, and then somehow it got moved to another location, and then someone simply put it back close to where it was initially, and so you saw it in the second position?
Sustained. All right, counsel, we're going to take our recess at this point. Ladies and gentlemen, please remember all of my admonitions to you. Do not discuss the case amongst yourselves. Don't form any opinions about the case. Do not conduct any deliberations till the matter has been submitted to you. And do not allow anybody to communicate with you. And we will resume at 10:30. Ms. Mazzola, you may step down. If you would, repackage those items, please, and return them to Mrs. Robertson. We'll be in recess for 15. Again, on the witness stand, undergoing cross-examination by Mr. Neufeld. Good morning again, Ms. Mazzola.
Good morning.
You're again reminded you are under oath. Mr. Neufeld, you may conclude.
Thank you. In direct examination, Ms. Mazzola, you testified that a criminalist must use his or her discretion in deciding which items to collect.
Correct.
And I believe you testified that a criminalist can't simply pick up every little bit of paper at a crime scene. Is that correct?
Correct.
And I believe it was your position that if you do that, you're simply adding a lot of garbage. Is that what you said, ma'am?
Something to that effect.
Now, I'll show the witness item exhibit 1080, 1080. Now, Ms. Mazzola, you see the piece of paper on the tile in between the person who is pointing and the white envelope.
On the tile?
Did you see a piece of paper on the ground?
There appears to be something on the tile.
Well, it's an object
On the
other
walk-
than the tile itself. Is that correct?
Excuse me, Mr. Neufeld, you need to let Ms. Mazzola finish answering.
Sorry,
your
Your Honor. Sorry, Ms. Mazzola.
It appears to be something other than the tile.
And I'd like you to take a look at the photo itself. You may see better resolution, Ms. Mazzola.
Okay.
Would you agree that it appears to be a piece of paper that's on the sitting on the tile?
Yes.
And Ms. Mazzola, that piece of paper was not collected by you on June 13th, was it?
No, I did not remember seeing the paper on June 13th.
And you never saw Dennis Fung collect that piece of paper, did you?
No.
Had you seen that piece of paper, you would have certainly collected it, wouldn't you?
I would have looked at it to find out what it was.
Well, wouldn't you be concerned as a criminalist that that piece of paper found so close to the body of Nicole Brown Simpson could have a fingerprint belonging to the assailant?
Yes, it's possible.
And that if the assailant was bleeding at this point in time, that that piece of paper might have a drop of blood that belonged to the assailant, correct?
It's a possibility.
That piece of paper might even have writing on it, which would give some indication as to either the identity or the motive of whomever or however many people that were involved in this case were the assailants.
Sustained.
In other words, Ms. Mazzola, that piece of paper found so close to the body of Nicole Brown Simpson could have been a very relevant piece of evidence.
Sustained, but the jury can draw their own conclusion given the proximity.
Now, Ms. Mazzola, calling your attention now to the drops of blood that were on the walkway at Bundy. You collected 5 drops of blood. Is that correct? 5 blood stains on that walkway.
Let me check and make sure
Please
exactly
do.
how many.
Is this it right here? Ms. Mazzola, the reason that you collected those drops is because you had been told by the detectives that these drops might perhaps come from the person who was the assailant, as a possibility. Weren't you told that?
That was a possibility, yes.
And the detectives, I believe, walked you and Dennis Fung along that walkway, pointing out the different blood drops or blood stains to you, did they not?
I went up to a certain point on the walkway. They were pointing out the drops, yes.
And when you say that they were pointing out the drops, they were pointing out the stains. Isn't that right?
Correct.
And now that you have seen Detective Lang and Van Adder, and you know what they look like, the detectives who took you on this walkthrough, were either of them Detective Lang or Van Adder?
I can't remember which ones were there that day.
How many different detectives took you on that walkthrough, approximately?
I wasn't counting detectives, I don't know.
All right, well, was it more than 2?
There was more than one.
All right. And they were both speaking and pointing out different items to you and Dennis Fung?
They were talking to Mr. Fung, yes.
And you could hear what they were saying?
Certain portions, yes.
And you collected every stain that you saw along this walkway, did you not?
The stains were in the trail, yes.
Okay. And could you step down for 1 second, please?
All right, you have the long pointer there. Mr. Neufeld.
Okay. Ms. Mazzola, you said you collected every stain that was along that walkway, correct?
Correct.
And you didn't simply say, I will only collect representative stains, did you?
On this, no.
You made a decision with Dennis Fung that you would collect each and every stain along that way, correct?
I was told to pick up every stain,
By Dennis Fung.
yes.
And he told you that even before you started picking up the stains, didn't he?
Yes.
Now, item number 50, by the way, isn't it true that you would collect items of evidence in sequence?
As much as possible, yes.
So the photo ID numbers that you use, such as 112 for item 47, was collected before photo ID number 113, which corresponds to item 48. Isn't that right? That was your practice.
For the most part.
Well, was that your practice to do that?
Asked and answered.
On this occasion, we started working on the trail, the walkway, because we wanted to get those stains up first.
Okay. Well, did you pick up the stains on the walkway before you picked up the perishables and loose items of evidence, such as the hat and the glove and the keys?
No, they were recovered first, and then we went on to the walkway.
Okay, so first you picked up the items, the perishable items, and then you started collecting the stains. Is that right?
It's the same. Assume facts that aren't in evidence.
First you started collecting the non-stain evidence, and then you went on to collect stains. Is that correct?
Correct.
And when you got to that walkway and you started collecting them, did you collect item 47 first on the walkway?
Yes.
And then you collected item 48, correct?
Correct.
And then you collected item 49. Is that right? Could you please point out to the jury where items 47, 48, and 49 are?
47, right here. 48, and 49.
Can you see that too? And then, did you then go on to pick up item 50?
Yes.
And could you please point out where item 50 is? And would you agree, ma'am, that item 50 is located simply a few feet from the back gate along that walkway?
On the diagram, it appears to be close to the back gate.
All right. And in fact, ma'am, then at some point did you pick up item 52 after you picked up item 50?
Yes.
And to get to item 52, you had to walk through the back gate, didn't you?
I just kept on going. There was no gate barring my way.
Well, Ms. Mazzola, are you saying that there was no gate at the Bundy walkway on June 13th, 1994? Is that your testimony?
I do not recall seeing a gate on that morning.
Well, Ms. Mazzola, if other witnesses had testified that they were absolutely certain that there was a gate present at the rear of that walkway on June 13th, would that affect your testimony today as to whether or not there was a gate there on June 13th?
It's an improper hypothetical.
Sustained.
Do you have any reason to believe, Ms. Mazzola, that there wasn't a gate there on June 13th when you collected the evidence?
Argumentative assumes facts not in evidence.
Sustained. Ms. Mazzola, have you been back to the scene since at Bundy?
Yes, I have.
Have you seen the gate back there?
I have seen the gate since, yes.
Proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. When you were at the SID Mini Academy, Ms. Mazzola, did they teach you how to look for evidence?
Yes.
In fact, when you were at Rockingham that morning, Ms. Mazzola, you and Dennis Fung looked all along the driveway systematically for every possible red stain along the way, didn't you?
Yes.
And you'd been taught to do that at the SID Mini Academy, hadn't you?
Yes.
And likewise, Ms. Mazzola, at Bundy, as you proceeded along that walkway, in that line, you were looking for as many red stains as could be there, correct?
In that trail, yes.
And when you say that trail, you mean all the way from where 47 is, and could you point to 47, please? And now could you point to 52? And all along that line, connecting those two dots, from 47 to 52, you were looking systematically all along that way for any red stains. Isn't that correct?
The area had already been searched for red stains. I was following the trail that I was told to pick up.
Ms. Mazzola, a moment ago I asked you whether or not you had been taught to systematically examine trail or walkway for any and all red stains.
Yes.
I believe you answered yes. Is that correct?
Correct.
And when you were at the Bundy location that day, ma'am, were you also systematically examining that walkway from item 47 to item 52 for the presence of red stains?
It's vague as to whether you was collective or individual.
Oh,
Were you doing that?
It had already been searched for red stains before I started collecting them.
Yes. And the person who searched for red stains before you started collecting it was you and Dennis Fung. Isn't that correct?
I self up to a certain point with Mr. Fung, and the detectives and Mr. Fung continued on out the back.
Ms. Mazzola, who told you to pick up item 52?
Mr. Fung?
He told you that there was a blood stain outside the rear gate, correct?
He told me there was a blood stain on the driveway.
Have you been taught, Ms. Mazzola, at the SID Mini Academy to independently look for evidence when you're at a crime scene?
To a certain extent, yes.
Have you been taught, Ms. Mazzola, to keep your eyes open as you walk through a crime scene to see if there's any relevant evidence?
Yes.
And Ms. Mazzola, did you keep your eyes open when you left item 50 and headed through the rear gate to item 52?
My eyes were open when I went out the back.
Okay. And when you walked out that back, you didn't see any red stains on the rear gate, did you?
Seems facts that I noticed she saw the gate.
oh.
I honestly don't remember seeing a gate there.
Well, Ms. Mazzola, now that you said you've been back to that location, correct?
Correct.
And you know the gate is there.
Correct.
And you know from speaking to other people about this case that the gate was there, in fact, on the 13th, don't you?
Yes, it was there on the 13th.
And so once again, I ask you, when you were walking from item 50 to item 52 with your eyes open, did you notice any bloodstains on the gate?
I did not notice a gate.
Did you notice any bloodstains there, Ms. Mazzola?
This is bad, Chair, next to answer.
Sustained. She's answered she didn't see the gate. If she didn't see the gate, she couldn't see anything that wasn't on it. Or was on it.
Thank you. Let me turn to this. Ms. Mazzola, when you were prepped to testify in this case by the prosecutors, were you told that there was an issue in this case, that is, the fact that blood drops, alleged blood drops, were not recovered from the gate on June 13th, but were recovered from the gate 3 weeks later? Were you told that
I remember hearing something about that.
during the prep sessions?
I can't recall if it was during the prep sessions or not.
And were you told during those prep sessions, Ms. Pizzola, that one way to deal with that particular problem would be to say that you never even saw the gate when you were there?
No.
Did you come up with that idea on your own, ma'am?
Sustained.
When you went back to Rockingham for the second time, Ms. Mazzola, did you make any contemporaneous note to indicate the time that you arrived back at Rockingham?
I don't believe we did.
Now, do you know what time you left Bundy?
The approximate time, yes.
And how do you know the approximate time?
Because it was written down while we were in the truck going back to Rockingham.
And where did you write that down?
I believe it was in the notes.
Which note?
Let me check.
And for a just see what note she's looking at?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Mr. Goldberg?
I have it written down here.
Well, when you say you have it written down here, that's not an original entry that was made contemporaneous to the making out of these field notes on the 13th, is it?
It doesn't appear to be.
Okay. Do you have any contemporaneous note that you made to indicate what time you left Bundy?
There doesn't appear to be.
And a moment ago, ma'am, when you testified that you wrote down the time you had left Bundy while you and Dennis Fung were in the van on the way back to Rockingham, is that something that you had just made up?
Overruled.
I believe we had written down the time.
Well, what was your basis when you testified a moment ago that you wrote down the time you left Bundy in the van while you and Dennis Fung were on your way back to Rockingham?
That I knew the approximate time that we had left Bundy.
But did you have an independent recollection of actually writing it down while you were in the van in transit?
I can't remember if I recall if it was exactly when we were in the van, if we had just left or we were sitting in the truck getting ready to leave or what.
But you said you had an independent recollection. I'm sorry. Okay.
Counsel?
Sorry. Please.
No, go ahead.
But a moment ago you testified that you did have a recollection that either while you were sitting in the van or while the van was in transit that you actually wrote down an entry as to the time that you had left Bundy. Wasn't that what you just testified to a little while ago?
Correct.
My question to you is, ma'am, when you testified to that a little while ago, did you simply make that up?
No, I thought we had.
And what was your basis for believing that you had done that?
That I knew the approximate time we had left.
Well, and what was the source of your information as to the approximate time that you left?
The time that I had in my notes.
But the time you just put in your note is not a note that you made on June 13th, is it?
It appears not to be.
All right. Now we've gone through this twice now.
As best you can recall at this time, Ms. Mazzola, what time did you leave Bundy?
Approximately 3:15 or so.
Yet, would you agree, Ms. Mazzola, that you have no independent basis for estimating that time?
Sustained.
Now, when you first got back to Rockingham, Ms. Mazzola, the first place you inspected was the exterior south side of Mr. Simpson's residence. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And while you were down inspecting and examining that location on Mr. Simpson's property, you noticed a red mark on a wire hanging down. Did you not?
It was brought to my attention that there was a red mark on a wire back there.
And who was it who brought that to your attention?
I can't remember if it was Mr. Fung or a detective.
And after it was brought to your attention, did you then return to the front of the house to go get your stain collection kit?
Yes.
And then once you got the stain collection kit, you alone went back to the side of the house to collect that stain. Is that right?
Correct.
And that reddish discoloration that you collected on that wire, that became item number 11, did it not?
Yes.
And you collected that item number 11 without Dennis Fung even being present to observe. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
And just like the other stains that you collected that day, you swatched the reddish area, did you not?
I swatched the area that came up phenol positive. I had trouble seeing exactly the red mark itself.
Ms. Mazzola, you saw a reddish discoloration on the wire?
It was pointed out to me, but I still couldn't quite make it out.
You're saying that you couldn't make out that it was a reddish stain on the wire before you collected it? Is that your testimony?
The wire was dirty, and we did a phenol test on it.
Ms. Mazzola, I'm asking, may I have a sidebar, Your Honor? This-
Yes, you may.
Thank you.
With the court reporter. Thank you, counsel. All right, ladies and gentlemen, with regards to Ms. Mazzola's testimony concerning the testing of the wire using the phenolphthalein presumptive test, I'm going to direct you to disregard her testimony that she got a positive result from that test. The reason for that is phenolphthalein is what is called a presumptive test. It only means that it's possible that blood is there, but other things also give a positive test. And unless there is a test to confirm that it is in fact blood and human blood, then you should not consider that result. So since there is no confirmatory test on this particular wire, you are to disregard the fact that there was a positive phenolphthalein result on the wire. All right, thank you. Mr. Neufeld. I will allow the testimony to stand, however, as to her taking the swatch.
Oh, yes. You mean taking the swatch and putting it in the bag?
Yes.
Okay.
Proceed.
In fact, when you collected item number 11, Ms. Mazzola, did you make a control swatch?
Yes,
And then you also made a separate swatch of the item of evidence. Is that correct?
correct.
And even before you collected item 11, Ms. Mazzola, did you make an entry in your field notes indicating the location of the item?
Yes,
And when you collected the item, did you also make an entry in your field notes as to the time at which you collected it?
yes.
And what was the time, ma'am?
It's approximately 1540.
Now, Ms. Mazzola, you testified that you learned, subsequent to your testifying on August 23rd, that it really was not necessary for you to fill in the time for every item that you collected at a crime scene. Is that correct?
Correct.
And were you told that you only had to enter the times where it was relevant?
Some people said that, yes.
Well,
Okay, chat. Now, we've reached a stopping point for the night. Let's do this. Thank you all for coming and hanging out with me. And everybody have a good weekend and take care. Thank you those that came here earlier were in chat lurking or in the chat physically, however people viewed it. So thank you everybody and peace.